Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Kristen. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up. So this is my first reading wrap-up of 2023, and in the month of January, I read 6 books. Most of them were really good. I did enjoy most of the books that I read this month. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this video and talk about all the books I read in January. I'm just gonna go through each book, kind of share what it's about, and give my rating. So let's just get into the video. To start off with January, I did want to read a really good book. Obviously, you can't really guarantee that, but I wanted to try to find a book that I thought I would enjoy. So I decided to start the year with Mile High by Liz Tomforde. So this was my first read of 2023. This book is a hockey sports romance. It follows a professional hockey player and a flight attendant who works for the hockey team. So that's kind of how they meet. She is one of their flight attendants that goes with them to all of the away games, and they don't really like each other at first. He kind of decides that he wants to make her job a little bit miserable, and he kind of messes with her a lot, and she just automatically doesn't like him because of their first meeting and just the way he is in general, the reputation he has. So it kind of starts this whole back and forth thing where he's making it his mission to kind of mess with her and annoy her, and then he starts to realize that he is actually very attracted to her and actually wants her, and he's not just bothering her because he wants to annoy her. He actually wants to see her and he likes her. So it kind of goes from there. Obviously it's kind of forbidden them being together because she does work for the hockey team and she's not supposed to have any sort of relationships with any of the players. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a cute book. I liked the characters. I liked the development of the story and the relationship and everything. So I did rate it 5 stars. I was actually working on a reading vlog for not just this book, but I was reading a few books in the reading vlog, and I never finished that reading vlog. But I was doing a sports romance reading vlog and it included this one, but then I never read any other sports romance after it. So we'll see. I might continue with that and upload that eventually. But yeah, this one I liked it. It was a 5-star read, so I'm glad that I started off the year with a book that I really enjoyed. So after that, I went into the ACOTAR series and I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. This was not in the plans at all to read this book this month. If you watched my January TBR, I did talk about how I wanted to go into a series this month, and I showed all these different series that I was thinking about potentially reading, and this was not on there at all. I had no plans to read this book or this series, but I started it, and so this was my second book of the year, and then I got really invested in it, and I ended up also reading the next 2 books. So my main reason for starting this was because my cousins were reading it and they told me to read it, so I decided to read it, and that was kind of it. So obviously that's what kind of changed my reading plans for the month, and this basically just took over my whole entire month. I spent basically the rest of the month reading it. So I started with A Court of Thorns and Roses. Obviously this is a fantasy series and I don't really read a ton of fantasy, but I decided to go ahead and give this one a try, and I did really like it. I did a reading vlog for this book and for the next 2 after it, so I'm not going to go super in depth on my thoughts or anything about it. I don't really feel I need to explain this book that much because I feel it's popular and people already know about it. But anyway, I did really enjoy this one, so I rated it 4 stars. And then after that, of course, I went into book 2, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. This one I was really looking forward to getting into it after finishing the first one. I was looking forward to getting more of these characters, and so I loved this book a lot. It was so good. It's my favorite so far in the series. I wasn't expecting that. I did think I would kind of enjoy this series going into it because I knew it was really popular, so I had a feeling I would like this book, and I knew that this one was a lot of people's favorite, and I went into it and it became my favorite too. I love this one so much. This one was very easily a 5-star read. It was such a good book. Like I said, I have a reading blog for it. I went a lot more in depth in my reading blog and talked all about this book. It does have spoilers for all my reading blogs that I've done so far, but that's up on my channel if you want to know a little bit more. And then after that, I read the 3rd book, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin, and again, I did really love this one a lot as well. I was really excited for it after finishing the second one because the second one was just so good. So this one, I was a little bit iffy, honestly, about what to rate it. I went a little bit back and forth because I did think it was a really good book, but I didn't love it as much as the second one, but I did still really like it a lot. But I ended up also rating this one 5 stars. And again, I have a reading vlog all about this book on my channel already. So then after that, I did decide to take a break and read something else because I feel the 3rd one doesn't really end on a cliffhanger. It ends with a good ending where you could kind of stop there. So I decided to do that, and I went and read something else instead of continuing on with the series. I am going to go back to it in February for sure, but I just wanted to kind of take a break from fantasy for a little bit. So I decided to read Where the Flowers Bloom by D.L. Darby. I have no idea why I picked this book up. Well, I do know why, but I don't know where this book came from. I think I saw it on TikTok or something back in December and people were saying it was really heartbreaking, and I decided to just save it for when I wanted a heartbreaking book. And I remember I read the synopsis and I saved it to my Goodreads, and I even downloaded it on Kindle Unlimited, and that was kind of it, and I just kind of forgot about it. But then I was looking for something else to read and I had no idea what to read next. This one was already downloaded in my Kindle, so I just decided to go ahead and start it, and I knew it was going to be a sad book, but I didn't read the synopsis again, so I completely forgot what it was about. Like, I had no idea. I just knew it was going to be sad. Basically, it follows this woman who just got divorced because her relationship kind of started to go downhill a little bit after her mother passed away, and so they just kind of got to a point where they realized like their relationship wasn't going to work anymore. So the two of them decided like mutually that they shouldn't stay together and they should get a divorce. So they do end like on good terms. And so basically her friends kind of are encouraging her to get herself out there again, just find someone to date, even if it's something like really casual, like just like a one-night stand or something. And she ends up meeting this guy who kind of joins their friend group. He is like friends with one of her friends, so that's how they meet. And basically they have this like instant attraction to each other, and they kind of start to spend more time with each other, and eventually it does start to evolve into more, but he's kind of hiding something from her. That's kind of all the synopsis gives away, so I'll just leave it at that. And so I started it, and it was interesting kind of in the beginning. Like, I wanted to know what was going to happen. I wanted to know why it was going to be like a sad book. I don't know, like I continued on with it even though there was times where I wasn't really liking it and I didn't really like where the story went. And part of that is my own fault. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen in this book because I didn't want to read the content warnings. I just wanted to go into it blindly. Like, I didn't want to know anything about it going into it, but I would definitely advise you to check them because this one was a very heartbreaking book. It did deal with some very serious topics and it was just really sad. Part of me does wish I knew what this book was about going into it, because I probably wouldn't have read it right now, like knowing what it was about. Like, it was just too sad, honestly. So yeah, definitely check the trigger warnings for this one. They are listed in the front of the book. Honestly, aside from it being like a sad book, I didn't really love the book anyway. I don't know, there was just a lot of like random things I didn't like about it besides like the actual storyline. The relationship development I think was really weird between her and the guy. I don't remember their names at this point, but the development of their relationship, I just didn't really like it. But I don't know, it wasn't a great book overall, but I didn't hate it. I did like the idea of it and like the themes of the story. I just feel like it wasn't executed very well, but I ended up rating this book 3 stars. Okay, so it's a couple days later. I didn't get to finish filming my wrap up the other day when I was filming that. I was just gonna go ahead and refilm the entire thing, but that seemed pointless because I already talked about 5 of the 6 books that I read. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the final book now. I just wanted to explain the changes and adjustments that happened from that last clip to this one. But the last book that I read in January was 1% of You by Michelle Gross. So this book is about a woman who is a single mother of 2 children. She has a toddler and then a newborn baby. And so the male main character of the story, he is her neighbor. She lives in these apartments and he just moved into a house that's right next to the apartments. And they don't really get along at first because he's just kind of grumpy. He's like this tattoo artist who's kind of like known for being a jerk, and he doesn't like kids at all. So yeah, they just keep having these interactions where they don't really like each other at first, but slowly they kind of start to get to know each other and then they become friends, and obviously he starts to fall for her. So this one was a cute story, but like there wasn't really much to it. I did get a little bit bored by it at times. There really wasn't much of a plot other than what I just explained. But yeah, I just felt like there wasn't like too much development, and I feel like they flipped really quickly from like first of all becoming friends and then also just like wanting this whole life together and imagining this whole future together when they didn't like each other like a few months before. But I did think it was sweet like how committed he was to her, and like I said, there were a lot of really cute moments within this book, but I just feel like it was basically like a book of like fluffy cute moments and like no plot, and I just didn't really love it overall. But I am glad that I finally read it. It had been on my TBR for a while and it was an okay book, so I did rate it 3.5 stars. It just wasn't a favorite for me and I wanted to like it more than I did. But those are the books that I read in the month of January, and that is it for this video. Definitely let me know any of your thoughts on any of these books, or let me know what you read in the month of January. And if you liked this video and you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.